studios of WDBO in sunny Orlando, Florida, here's talk radio host Joe Kelley's Behind the News podcast, where Joe and his listeners and guests discuss the most important issues of the day, plus the crazy and bizarre stories of the infamous Florida man. Here's Joe Kelley.
All right, coming up in about 4 minutes from right now, if you are headed to the Taylor Swift concert at Ray J Stadium in Tampa, we've got a special traffic report for you coming up in about 4 minutes from right now to help you get there, and I think you're going to enjoy this. This will be coming up again in about 4 minutes from right now. Happy Friday night, everybody. I'm so glad you're joining us here on Fridays. We generally try to unwind a little bit, have a little bit of fun. We're somewhat short-staffed tonight, but we have the best players here joining us, and we're going to get into a match of Would You Rather coming up in a few minutes. Plus, Joe Rogan in his own words with a warning. But is it really Joe Rogan in his own words? Hang on, we'll get to that coming up in a few minutes as well. First, though, I do want to start out of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, a U.S. postal carrier. His name is Gerald Groff. Spent every day for 7 years delivering the mail in the rural corner of southeast Pennsylvania, except for Sundays, when he would attend church worship services and spend the rest of the day resting. Now, in 2019, the former Mennonite missionary and a son of a truck driver said his boss forced him to choose between practicing his faith or a paycheck. He says, I want to own what I believe, and I live that out for God. But next week, Groff will ask the U.S. Supreme Court to require employers to be more accommodating to religious observant workers, including a right to skip shifts on the Sabbath and still keep their jobs. Now, federal law requires employers to accommodate the religious beliefs of workers unless it would impose an undue hardship on the business, a standard that the Supreme Court interpreted some 46 years ago to mean anything more than a de minimis cost. And I looked up de minimis cost just to make sure I understood the meaning of that. That is a legal principle that exempts employers from providing accommodations that impose an undue hardship or significant difficulty or expense. This dude is already working 6 days a week. Now, the Postal Service doesn't deliver mail on Sundays, but a few years ago, the U.S. Postal Service, because they're always in the red, the Postal Service cut a deal with Amazon to deliver Amazon packages on Sunday. That means these postal workers are working 7 days a week. How in the hell two lower federal courts agreed with the post office, saying, yeah, it makes perfect sense to have this guy work 7 days a week. Work 7 days a week? You forget about accommodations, forget about God, forget about the Sabbath, forget about any kind of ADA concerns. Who the hell makes someone work 7 days a week? 844-580-WDBO. It's 844-580-9326. You can hit me up in the open mic in the WDBO app. Safe Touch Security, Triple Team Traffic. As we check that drive here tonight, we got the big Taylor Swift concert going on in Tampa. Here's Paul Cross.
Hey, are you ready for it?
I'm ready.
Talking about the Taylor Swift concert tonight in Tampa. Seeing lots of red brake lights on I-4 eastbound into Champions Gate. You don't need to be a music lover. You just need to be fearless and keep your eyes open because the highway don't care. Still, it's more comfortable than riding a white horse. If you think the car ahead of you is looking out for you, well, I bet he isn't. So shake it off because you're not out of the woods yet. Don't be driving like you're in a getaway car and causing some bad blood with other drivers. You need to calm down. Let someone else be the anti-hero this afternoon. Get out of that lavender haze. Begin again. Leave some blank space between you and the car ahead of you. Going to take you about 15 to 22 minutes to get from just after Lakeland to Dinosaur World right now. I know that makes it sound like today was a fairy tale, so if you think you're in exile, get in style. Put on that cardigan, settle in, make yourself the main character in your own love story tonight. Tell the person next to you, this is our song, and you belong with me. Tonight will be the story of us and something out of our wildest dreams. So I should have said no to doing this, but look what you made me do, Joe Kelley. I knew you were trouble, and I bet you think about me next time you hear some of these songs. From the WDBO Triple Team Traffic Center, I'm not the delicate and always handsome Tim McGraw.
Are you ready to maximize your tax savings throughout your retirement? On Saturday, April 29th, WDBO and Certified Financial Group invite you to the Stanley Steamer Performance Studio for a free workshop on tax planning. Just tap the Tax Workshop button in the WDBO app to sign up. Plus, you'll experience the On the Money Show live and have a chance to meet and speak with CFG planners. Don't leave money on the table. Learn how to make the most of your retirement with Certified Financial Group and WDBO.
All right, Friday night fun night. Would you rather, Sophie? We have two contestants. Well, three, four if you count me and Paul. So we have four contestants tonight for Would You Rather. And Sophie, you're going to be up first. Here's the question: would you rather spend a week in the wilderness without any technology, or spend a week in a luxury hotel without leaving your room?
Luxury hotel.
Really?
Yes, I can watch a lot of TV.
That's a good point. Sleep, take some good naps. You could probably order room service. Randy?
Yep, luxury hotel for sure.
Paul Cross?
Wilderness all the way.
You know, I got to tell you, I'm wilderness also. I think the wilderness would be much more memorable and would be more exciting. I think a hotel room could grow to be boring after a little while.
I think us older folks could get rid of our phones a lot quicker than these younger folks.
No, I need a break.
No, it sounds dangerous out there.
I'm not hunted. No, I need a break. I'm not hunting
this isn't,
for food.
Naked and afraid. He just said out somewhere.
Like it.
It's a good point. All right, Sophie, would you rather live in a world without social media or without music?
Without social media, we don't need it.
Randy?
It just makes us miserable.
Yeah, without social media for sure.
Paul?
I could never live without music, ever.
I am the same way. I would get rid of social media in a heartbeat. I could not possibly get rid of music. Would you rather live in a house, Sophie? Would you rather live in a house with no electricity or no running water?
No electricity. I can put up a lamp, right?
How are you so quick to answer these? And no, you can't put up a lamp if there's no electricity.
Like a battery-powered lamp.
That's electricity.
So no electricity?
Right. That's what electricity means.
No running water and I'll live near a river.
Okay, so you're going to go with no running water.
Correct.
All right, Randy.
Always a loophole.
No running water, but with this housing market, I'd take either one.
You know, running water is important to your health.
Yes, I can brush my teeth in the river.
With all this money I'm saving on the mortgage, I'll buy gallons of water.
I can hang out near the beach and use their showers.
All right, Paul, would you rather live in a house with no electricity or no running water?
I'd probably have to go without the electricity.
Yeah, I think
you need water to live.
Right, that's what I'm saying. I think I would also go without the electricity.
I'll buy water.
There's lead pipes all over Florida. I think we're okay.
There are lead pipes.
Okay,
all
look,
over
I'll
Florida,
light a candle if that's what I'll be Little House on the
fire.
Prairie for a while.
That's not electricity. That would actually work.
How did I not think of that?
All right, last question before the break here. Sophie, would you rather live in a world without books or without movies?
Oh, this is so hard. Without movies. They're kind of boring anyways. They last too long.
Randy?
Without movies, you can get more... You can get more information and more of a story into a book.
Correct.
Fit it.
Paul?
Yeah, I'm kind of the same way. Your imagination goes wild with a book. I like books.
So I'm the odd man out because I would go without books. Can I just be honest for a second? Just because
you've never read a book in your life,
because everything else is a lie. But can I just be honest for a second? I hate reading. And we watch Jeopardy every night, and whenever there's a literature category, I scream and yell at the TV. Why? Nobody reads! Why is there a literature category? I do read.
Is that misdirected rage?
It probably is. I do read, but I don't enjoy it very much. And
I love it. I've reread The Hunger Games 3 times this year.
See, I'll rewatch movies 5, 6, 7 times. I am a cinema nut. I absolutely love film. And
I have noticed every time I read a book and then I see the movie, I'm always disappointed in the movie. Because your brain takes you on these fantasy things that when you see it transmitted by someone else or translated by someone else, it seems to disappoint.
Okay, a big warning that everybody needs to hear from Joe Rogan, sort of. Yes, you absolutely need to hear it. It's sort of Joe Rogan. Hang on, you'll hear it in sort of Joe Rogan's own words coming up next. My name is Joe Kelley. You can find me online at Talk Radio Joe. Look for the podcast Behind the News with Joe Kelley. It is available in the WDBO app. It is available on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and so many other places as well. We're going to get back to some more Would You Rather questions coming up in just a couple of minutes on our Friday Night Fun Night. But first, a word from Joe Rogan. And I would kind of set this up and explain it, but I think Joe Rogan sets it up and explains it better than I could anyway. So take a listen. This should send a chill down your spine.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the very first episode of the Joe Rogan AI Experience. I'm your host, Joe Rogan, or at least that's what this AI model thinks I sound like. Let me tell you, folks, this is some next level stuff we've got going on here today. Every single word of this podcast has been generated with the help of ChatGPT, the cutting-edge AI language model developed by OpenAI. I am not the real Joe Rogan. Let me repeat it once more. I am not Joe Rogan, and the guests are not the people they portray. This is purely fiction, just for fun, so don't go around making little clips for your TikToks and make the world believe I said things I never said. Nothing in this podcast should be taken as said by the real people they portray. This is purely for entertainment purposes and an experience showcasing the amazing advancements in AI technology. So sit back, relax, and let's dive into this AI-generated world. Let's get weird, folks.
So I'm going to stop it right there and tell you that this is an hour-long podcast. An hour-long radio show, basically. It's a podcast. But it's an hour-long broadcast that is 100% AI. 100% not real. That voice sounded like Joe Rogan to me. Now imagine you get a phone call at your house and it's one of your children crying, saying, "I've been kidnapped," and you recognize your child's voice. That is exactly what happened to this mom.
Warning of close encounters with scammers who used artificial intelligence to clone her daughter's voice.
Yeah, this is crazy. They actually made her believe they had kidnapped her 15-year-old, and then they demanded a ransom. So as On Your Side Susan Campbell found out, this is crazy. It doesn't take much of a voice sample to pull this scam off. This is so frightening to hear.
It really is. This truly terrified this mom, and this technology is actually improving so quickly. You really only need seconds of a voice sample to get pretty close to someone's real voice.
The phone number was unfamiliar. Jennifer DeStefano almost let it go to voicemail. But her 15-year-old was out of town skiing. Maybe there had been an accident.
I pick up the phone and I hear my daughter's voice, and it says, "Mom," and she's sobbing. And I was like, "What happened?" And she's like, "Mom, I messed up," and she's sobbing and crying. And then I hear a man's voice say, "Put your head back, lie down." And then I'm like, wait, what's going on? And this man gets on the phone and he's like, "Listen here, I've got your daughter. This is how it's gonna go down. You call the police, you call anybody. I'm gonna pop her stomach so full of drugs, I'm gonna have my way with her and I'll drop her off in Mexico." And at that moment, I just start shaking. I'm like, what? In the background, she's going, "Help me, Mom, please, help me," and bawling.
And you have absolutely no doubt in your mind that that was her voice.
Oh, 100% her voice. 100% her voice. It was never a question of, who is this? Or it was completely her voice. It was her inflection. It was the way she would have cried. I never doubted for 1 second it was her. That's the freaky part that really got me to my core.
But the 15-year-old never said any of it. It was just a clone created by artificial intelligence.
You can no longer trust your ears.
Subaro Kamampati is a computer science professor at Arizona State who specializes in AI. He says voice cloning technology is rapidly improving. The FBI's Dan Mayo says scammers who use voice cloning often find their prey on social media.
They're going to be looking for public profiles that have as much information as possible on you. And when they get a hold of that, they're going to dig into you.
The Federal Trade Commission says scammers will often ask their victims to wire money, send cryptocurrency, or pay the ransom with gift cards. Once the money is gone, it's almost impossible to get it back.
The phone number's coming from an area code that you're not familiar with. That should be one red flag. Second red flag, international numbers. Sometimes they will call from those.
So I think you guys get the rub here that this woman was shaken down and shaken to her core after what sounded like her teenage daughter called her in tears saying that she had been kidnapped. While she had these guys on the phone, her husband there and some other family friends that were there with her, the mom, started making phone calls, and they were able to get a hold of their daughter on that ski trip. So they found out that the daughter was safe and that the phone call to them was fake. They alerted the police. But there's very little the police is able to do about it because it's tough to track these things back to their original sources because, as you heard, a lot of those phone calls come from out of the country. You know, as the news director of a radio newsroom here at WDBO, I am always on the hunt for real fake news. Sometimes the term fake news is used for news stories that you just don't like or don't understand, but you know, I'm always on the hunt for fake pictures, fake stories, fake leads, fake websites. But it is now infinitely more difficult to separate the wheat from the chaff, the legit stuff from the AI stuff, because we're not talking about Photoshops or weird editing anymore. We're talking about creating from whole cloth, creating from scratch someone's voice, like Joe Rogan, like that daughter, like me. I mean, you only have my word that I'm actually live here behind the microphone. There's going to come a time in which you're going to have a hard time telling the difference between someone talking to you live and someone talking to you through a computer. You know, when that picture of the Pope came out with his puffy white jacket and there was like, oh my gosh, look how the Pope's dressed. Everybody thought that was a real picture. It was way too good to be photoshopped. I thought it was a real picture. I mean, everybody thought it was a real picture, only to later be revealed that it was an AI image. I went to an AI image maker, and off the top of my head, I said, create a picture of Bill Clinton and Muhammad Ali in the boxing ring fighting one another. And holy smokes, it created an image of Bill Clinton and Muhammad Ali. Bill Clinton didn't have his shirt on in the ring. That was weird. It was horrible. But it created a real looking image of the two boxing in a boxing match. You'll never again be able to fully believe what you see and what you hear because of AI. Hey, if you're just joining us, maybe you didn't hear the story today, but a Florida man lost one of his legs after being attacked by an alligator today in Titusville. 72-year-old guy. We don't know a whole lot of the details about how it happened or what he was doing at the time. But this poor fella, they loaded him into an ambulance, but they decided that they needed to get him there faster. So they flew in a helicopter and moved him from the ambulance to the helicopter and then airlifted him to a nearby hospital where doctors had to amputate what was left of his right leg below the knee. Poor guy is 72 years old, and he got attacked by an alligator. This, just a month or so after another 70-something-year-old, got killed. A woman while she was out walking her dog, and the gator was going for the dog. And once she saw that, she didn't see the gator until the absolute last second. And once she did, she pulled her dog out of the way. And kind of like last night when I was saying as I was feeding my snake, the gator missed the dog and grabbed the woman and then pulled her into the water. And regrettably, she didn't make it. She didn't make it. And I think about all the scary things that we have here in Florida. I mean, there's a lot to be scared of here in Florida, particularly if you're an outsider looking in. And you just hear these stories about alligator attacks, and we've got monkeys with syphilis. It's syphilis, right? That the monkeys have. They have some sort of sexually
I thought it was herpes.
Is it herpes?
Could be both.
Yeah, could be. I mean, it's some sort of sexually transmitted infectious disease. And then we've got the Zika mosquitoes, and we've got sinkholes and hurricanes and tornadoes, and we don't have. You know what we don't have? Really, is we don't have earthquakes, which is nice. So
super thankful.
So we've got that going for us. But I mean, what to you? What is the scariest part of living in Florida? Sophie, what do you think? For you, what is the scariest part?
So number one is other drivers. It's absolutely terrifying on the 408.
Yeah, some more humans.
Yes. So scary.
All humans.
Right. And all humans scare me.
Well, to me, all humans, yes.
Yes.
And second is the skunk ape. You never know what's lurking out
I'm sorry,
there.
the what? The what now?
The skunk ape. It's Florida's. What's it called?
It's Florida's Sasquatch.
Bigfoot. Yes.
Yeah, it's Florida's Bigfoot is the skunk ape.
He stinks to holy heaven.
Yes, because he lives in the swamp.
Duh.
Yeah.
And he's also just out there being stinky. You'll never know where you'll find him.
Have you ever encountered a skunk ape?
No, I wish.
I'm confused because you tell me you're scared of the skunk ape and now you want to see one.
I'm scared, but I want evidence.
See, you're just like Sasquatch. I mean,
Yeah.
you want to be the person who discovers the skunk ape.
Yeah.
I wonder how many Floridians know the legend of the skunk ape.
I just read a lot of weird books
It's
as a
pretty
kid.
ingrained in our culture.
Is it? But so for all the new Floridians, for all y'all New Yorkers who just moved here, watch out for the skunk ape. There, you've been warned of the skunk ape. Randy, what is the scariest thing to you living in Florida?
It may sound general, but honestly, the people we have like the hardest of crackheads eating people's faces.
Yep.
I don't know. They
True.
seem more hardcore here.
Yep. So you're afraid of
tremendous gun violence.
Florida man is who you're afraid of. Florida man.
Florida man.
Yeah. Yeah, for those of you New Yorkers who just moved here, we had a guy a few years ago that got high on bath salts or something and literally ate a dude's face off. And the guy looked really normal, not the guy whose face was
Yeah, it was
eaten
like
off.
a college student.
But the kid, he looked he was a good-looking guy. And yeah, it was just weird.
But yeah, I mean, I guess face eating, that could be more of a concern for like the Miami metropolitan area more so than here, but
Right.
still.
So the thing that scares me the most living in Florida, if not the people, but it's I know this is going to sound weird, but it's sinkholes. I am scared to death of sinkholes.
Oh, yeah.
Now, fortunately, on this side of the state, we don't have as many as they do over in Hillsborough County, the Tampa side of the state.
One ate like the Winter Park Mall in the 70s.
Yes, Lake Eola even is a sinkhole. That's how Lake Eola got there. It was a sinkhole. There was a Porsche dealership in Winter Park that fell into a sinkhole again. I think it was back in the 70s or so. But again, for all, I don't know why I feel like I've got to address all the New Yorkers that just moved here, but there's so many New Yorkers who just moved here. So there was a sinkhole in Sithleville, Seminole, something. It was in Hillsborough County. I don't remember the name of the town, but there was a sinkhole that opened up under a small house.
Oh, I read about.
Do you remember that?
I read about this.
And there was a guy. There was a couple people in the house, and one of the guys was asleep in his bedroom when the sinkhole opened up underneath him, and it swallowed him in his
They
sleep.
never found his body.
Oh, I remember hearing about that.
Never found his body, and they concreted it in, which is what they do with sinkholes. And then about a year and a half later, the sinkhole opened up again. And at that time, everybody was saying, it's the dude trying to get out.
Well, thanks. Now I have a new fear.
See? Sinkholes scare the heck out of me.
You actually ruined my night. I will be sleeping,
Mhm.
not sleeping.
No, yeah. I don't blame you. Safe Touch Security, Triple Team Traffic. What about you, Paul Cross? What scares you the most about living in Florida?
Not a big zombie fan. I
Yeah.
guess zombies. I really don't know.
The face
I
eaters.
came from my whole the face eaters. My whole life was in Southern California, or most of my life. So I've been through some pretty wicked earthquakes.
I have too. I was born in California.
Yeah, I was in Los Angeles, raised in San Diego, in that area. But I'll tell you,
And see,
earthquakes with no warning whatsoever scare the bejeebies out of you.
I equate sinkholes with earthquakes because there's no
Yeah,
warning. It's a
no
movement.
warning.
It's a movement of the ground. You can't predict it. At least with a hurricane, I'm not a big fan of hurricanes, but at
You've
least
got
with a hurricane,
hours, days.
yeah, we've got a couple weeks notice before we
Right.
get hit. We got time to prepare. You don't have time to prepare for an earthquake or a sinkhole. Oh, and speaking about cannibalism, the Republicans are eating their own right now. See, we used to have this guy. I don't know if you know. We used to have this guy. His name was Ronald Reagan, and he used to be a president of the United States, our place. And Ronald Reagan had this thing that he referred to as the 11th commandment. You see, there were 10 commandments, and then Ronald Reagan had an 11th commandment. And the 11th commandment was, thou shalt not speak ill of any other Republicans. Well, it seems no one pays attention to the 11th Amendment anymore. And man, are they speaking ill of other Republicans. So let me start. I've got two negative ads, one against Trump, one against DeSantis. You're going to hear both of them. The Trump ad is a 60-second ad. The DeSantis ad is a 30-second ad. So this is a Republican group that paid for this ad. It's a Republican Political Action Committee paid for this ad to take a shot at Donald Trump. Take a listen.
President Xi is a brilliant man. President Xi, very good conversations. I liked him a lot. I told him we shot 57 missiles into Syria while he was having chocolate cake. There was a great chemistry we had. We talked about everything. If you went all over Hollywood to look for somebody to play the role of President Xi, you couldn't find it. There's nobody like that. The look, the brain, the whole thing. How smart is Kim Jong-un? Top of the line. You know, people say, oh, this and that. He took over a country at a very young age, and he has total dominant control. Kim, he's quite a guy. We shook hands. He wrote me beautiful letters. We fell in love. Putin, very smart. He liked me. I liked him. I mean, you know, he's got a lot of great charm and a lot of pride, and he loves his country. You know, he loves his country. Putin even sent me a present. Beautiful present with a beautiful note.
So there you go, Donald Trump showing love to, you know, dictators and a bunch of terrible people. That is one negative ad. Let me set up this next negative ad. So this next negative ad, you really need to see it in addition to hearing it because it's gross. I mean, it is gross. It's a negative ad against DeSantis. It is paid for by the Make America Great Again PAC, which is, of course, a political action committee that supports Donald Trump, but it's not controlled by Donald Trump. Well, evidently, and I did not know this until this ad came out, but evidently some years ago, Ron DeSantis was on a private jet flying somewhere, and two people aboard the jet claim that Ron DeSantis ate pudding out of the little pudding cup with his three fingers. He didn't use a spoon. He used his fingers to scoop the pudding out of the container, and he ate his pudding that way. Now, Ron DeSantis, for his part, he didn't deny it, but he says, I don't have any recollection of doing that, which I think is a weird way to deny something because I feel like you would remember. I can tell you that at least not as an adult have I eaten pudding with my fingers. In fact, not as an adult have I eaten pudding, to be honest with you. So listen to this attack ad against Ron DeSantis and his mythological, the lore perhaps of him eating pudding with his three fingers.
Ron DeSantis loves sticking his fingers where they don't belong. And we're not just talking about pudding. DeSantis has his dirty fingers all over senior entitlements, like cutting Medicare, slashing Social Security, even raising our retirement age. Tell Ron DeSantis to keep his pudding fingers off our money. Oh, can somebody get this man a spoon?
Make America Great Again, Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Yeah, really, really gross. If you want to see the ad, it's in, just look for the story in the WDBO app. It is there. And it's gross. They've got an actor that is pretending that he is Ron DeSantis wearing a suit and tie, and he's just getting pudding all over his face, and it's gross, and it's brown, and it's gross. But if you want to see either of those ads, you can see them right now. Just go to WDBO.com or look for them in the WDBO app. My name is Joe Kelley. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight on a Friday Fun Night. I love you guys so much. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being a part of the show. Have a great weekend. Have a safe weekend. And I'll see you back here Monday night on WDBO.